Hello and welcome to Not Every Single. I'm Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
Today we're talking Jack White, which is something we've wanted to do for a while.
Yeah, his album Fear of the Dawn, he did 2 albums last year, but this one came out a little before we started the channel. I kind of wanted to talk about it, never got around to it, but now we can.
Yeah, now we can talk about it because he killed it on SNL, playing a couple songs from Fear of the Dawn and a song from the acoustic album as well.
Entering Heaven Alive.
That's right, Entering Heaven Alive. And want to talk about that performance and how we feel about those albums overall.
Yeah.
So, he's been on SNL 5 times. Does that include like all of his projects? Do you know?
Yeah, I actually don't know. I imagine that concludes White Stripes. I don't know if Dead Weather or Raconteurs have ever.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think Dead Weather have. But, he has all these projects. In my mind, it kind of culminates into Fear of the Dawn, taking things from all of his different bands and just putting out this burst of creativity.
Yeah. It's really, well, we can get into the production a little bit on it. And he had always recorded a tape, and this was his first go at digital audio.
Yeah, I think he maybe got into it a little bit on Boarding House Reach.
Yeah.
And you can tell on this one, he just goes full Pro Tools, embraces it. And I think he cracked what must have been kind of a tough formula, which is how does Pro Tools editing and layering and all that stuff, how does that fit into the Jack White sound? How do you do it in a Jack White way?
Yeah, I mean, I was re-listening to this, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 songs on this album are absolutely like just blistering.
Yeah, and they kind of go right into each other.
Yeah,
it's like unrelenting gut punches.
And one thing I thought about when I was listening to this album a couple of months ago, thinking about Jack White and his career as a whole, going back to White Stripes, he was always kind of about like barely controlled chaos, especially live. Yeah. Like he would put things a little too far out of reach, so he'd have to like run across the stage to hit it. And he's got his other projects, and then he started his solo career, and he was more country, and he kind of brought in some rock, and then Boarding House Reach was experimental. And to me, this like 4-song run, the first 4 songs of the album, is absolute controlled chaos. Like he took everything that he's done and he makes it like there's just so many things coming in and out that you're just like, what the heck is that? How do you even think of that?
Yeah, it sounds like a kid in a toy store. Like it's I like how you put it's very controlled chaos because they are chaotic. There's a lot going on. Yeah. It's kind of an onslaught of sound. But I think if you've followed his career, which I imagine a lot of his listeners have, I don't think this is many people's first experience with Jack White.
Right.
If you followed along, it just sort of makes sense when you get there. And that's what I like about it.
It's the natural progression, and it's crazy to see him this far into his career having this sort of, we've talked about it before, watching him in interviews and stuff. He just seems to have this sort of new light and passion. And there's just something different about his demeanor lately. Yeah,
he seems very... we talked in the Miley Cyrus video and in the Paramore video a little bit, where we're talking about the importance of like self-acceptance in music. And he really seems to be at that point, just a very like grounded, self-accepted point in his life. At least it seems, as much as you can tell from a famous person doing interviews and stuff.
And, some people might think, oh, he's so pretentious. He only uses like to tape. He doesn't use digital, all this weird things that he's done in his career. But he seems a little bit more open now, like you said, embracing Pro Tools. And it's fascinating what he does with it. I want to say Heidi Ho in particular, to me, is just the culmination, because it's like every couple of seconds something different is coming in. There's a million different little cuts. He's cutting his vocals in really interesting ways and using them as like little samples. He's got a Cab Calloway sample. He's got Q-Tip like rapping on it.
it has a lot to do with his history. He comes from Detroit. A lot of these artists have really influenced him. And, he's got Daru Jones in the live band, one of my favorite drummers, this like Detroit, like hip hop drummer. And, that stuff seeps in. And I think when something seeps in with him, he uses it in such a cool way.
Yeah.
My favorite thing on the album is the first two songs that just like 1-2 punch right into each other. And that kind of leads us into this SNL performance, because I was hoping it'd be those two songs, and it was.
Yeah. Well, I know "Taking Me Back" was the first single, and
right.
So I'm not sure if you're probably "Fear of the Dawn" too.
Yeah, that was a single.
Yeah, and like you said, it almost seems like a little mini EP in itself. Those first 4 songs.
Yeah, definitely. And I've even like, if I don't have time to listen to a whole record or something, sometimes those first handful are what I'll go to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just like a quick exercise or I'm waiting for something. It's like, it is sort of a nice little collection.
Yeah.
And live, I'm not going to say 100% positive things, because ever since he started his solo career and had a bigger live band, I've always thought that it's almost sometimes a little too sloppy.
Okay.
Whereas in the White Stripes, that sloppiness was like part of the act and was very important and integral to their live shows.
Yeah.
And now when, you have him with a bassist and keyboards and stuff, so he has sort of a thinner guitar sound, it can sometimes get lost in the air and sound a little like, what is he doing? Okay, I think he's back on the riff now,
I mean, he's doing so much, though. His singing is top-notch right now. Like, he's just going for it. He always has.
Yeah, he's got those crazy screams and high-pitched wails and stuff.
Yeah, and I think, I've seen mixed reactions. I think a lot of people who don't, especially people who don't, like, listen to rock, or, like, maybe even don't know who Jack White is very much, maybe kind of know who the White Stripes are, were a little bit, like, befuddled. Yeah. Like, what is this?
I mean, that makes sense. It's pretty crazy for an SNL performance. His performance on the show in 2020 was pretty legendary. I think that was a little more effective and caused a little more of a stir online. Like, look at this amazing performance. Coming back with the new songs, I just felt like, probably not the best performance of those songs, but a really good representation of like, that just like blistering new sort of like cyber Jack White sound.
Yeah, I mean, just the energy of the performance and like the connection I think he makes with his audience is kind of, that's the way he looks at music, where it doesn't really matter if every single thing is correct. It's about that connection. And man, the bass comes in and you're just like...
Yeah, that bassist is a good backup singer too, I noticed on that performance.
Yeah.
He can really, because... he's never had, sometimes he has like female backup singers, or sometimes he had Meg doing a little something.
Yeah.
But I think this is kind of the first time he's had like 2 male backup singers like picking up those like echo lines and stuff.
Yeah.
It works really well.
It was cool.
And Daru Jones killing it as usual. If he tilts his drum set anymore, it's going to fall over. I love that setup, having the snare tilted like that, where you can just like hit it like bam, bam. That's amazing.
Do we want to talk about the digital floor at all?
That was very cool. I mean, that SNL stage, it can't change too much. And there are a lot of artists, some I'm not going to give a platform to and talk about anymore on this channel, that have done some crazy stuff with that with that stage. You got that little square. More recently, Sam Smith did some crazy stuff with it, really transformed it into a unique looking space. But there's only so much you can do. You always think like, well, they've got to have done it all. And then boom, the floor falls out and becomes something new.
If you haven't seen it, it's like, it's a digital screen. I don't know how I guess it's just like really thick, like plexi or whatever over it. And I was watching it. I'm like, oh, that's a cool, it almost looks like there's a platform he's standing on, but it's all level. And then all of a sudden, like the songs keep going and like the floor changed. I was like,
cool.
What?
Yeah, I thought for a second, I was like, is this being done digitally, like in post after the fact? But yeah, I think it maybe was a screen.
Right. It was, yeah.
So that was really cool. And then you get into the acoustic one, which I'm not as big of a fan as of Entering Heaven Alive.
Yeah, I listened to it once and it just felt a little empty to me. I know it has its great fans, and maybe I need to return to it, but I just get so like hyped on Fear of the Dawn.
It's hard to come off of that into
an
that.
acoustic, and then he has Taking Me Back Slowly on that, which is an acoustic version of like this rock song, which can work, but I don't know. I just gravitate more towards the heavier.
And being a fan of his, you kind of accept that part or you don't.
Right.
I feel like maybe there's a lot of people that can relate to this, fans of his that could relate to this, but I just sort of let that sound also exist.
Yeah.
But like, it's not a thing I'm into. So like Blunderbuss, I was like, there was a few songs I liked. And then by the time you're getting to Lazaretto, there's like a few more I like. And that's why Fear of the Dawn felt like such a slam dunk.
It was very,
for me.
it was satisfying to feel like the rock sound was really brought to the highest level he could bring it.
It was a cool idea to sort of, let's just separate them.
Yeah.
Like if you like this sound, there's this. If you like this sound, there's this. Because even going back to like Elephant or something, You've Got Her in Your Pocket, songs like that, they've always existed on his projects. But it was so cool to just have them pushed apart like that, and you sort of get one or the other, the two sides of the coin.
Yeah.
So is that everything? You got anything else?
I mean, yeah, let us know. Did you watch it? Like, what do you think? Was your face melted off?
Here's what I want to know. Okay, so not too much rock on SNL these days, but looking back in the history of the show, what do you think was the best rock performance on the show? That's something I've been thinking about lately. The best rock performance on SNL. One of my favorites was Bullet with Butterfly Wings, Smashing Pumpkins on there in like 95, I think.
Okay.
That was one of my favorite ones. What's your favorite? All right. That's it for us. This is Not Every Single. I'm Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
Talk to you next time.
Bye.